ಸರ್ ಆಯ್ತು. ವಸಂತ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಆಯ್ತು, ವಸಂತ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ನಿಮ್ದ ಭಾಳ ಬೇಕು. ವಸಂತ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಅವರು ಎಂಕರಿಂಗ್ ಭಾಳ ಚೆಂದ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರಿ.
ಹೌದೌದು, ನಿನ್ನೆ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ಎಂಕರಿಂಗ್.
ನಾನು ಆರಂಭದೊಳಗೆ ಯಾರು ಟಿವಿ ಎಂಕರ್ ಹಿಡಿದಾರ ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಇದು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೆ.
Okay, very good morning to all. At the very outset, with the best wishes, I welcome all. As you all know, today BVB Sanghas, Basaveshwara Arts College, Bagalkot, which is accredited B grade by NAC, is organizing 2-day state level workshop on language learning and intercultural education, its barriers and prospects. It is collaboratively organized by Department of English and IQAC of the institution. At the very outset, I request Professor Suresha R, Head of Department of English, to introduce and welcome today's chief guest. I request Suresh sir to welcome the chief guest and the dignitaries. I request all the participants kindly mute yourself. Do not turn on in between the session. Thank you. Over to Suresh sir.
So good morning to everybody. So I am Suresh, Faculty Department of English. I feel very happy to extend a warm and graceful welcome to you all. We all have joined the program over Google Meet today to attend workshop based on language learning and its barriers. Honorable President of this program, esteemed keynote speaker as well as resource person, respected chairman, members of our Sangha and college in their absence, IKAC coordinator, elder participants, my dear colleagues and my dear lovely student friends. First of all, on behalf of our management, elders, teachers, and on my own behalf, I extend a warm and cordial welcome to the keynote speaker as well as resource person of 2-day online workshop, Professor Basaraj P. Donor, Sir, Register and Dean, School of Humanities and Languages, Central University of Karnataka, Kalburgi. Sir, you are heartily welcome to this program. Next, on behalf of all participants, teaching staff of our college, I extend gracious welcome to the President of our Reverend Principal, Dr. V.S. Kattigehalimat, who has wholeheartedly encouraged and supported us to motivate as a motivate force to organize a series of such programs for the benefits of our students and teachers' progress. Sir, you are most welcome to this program. Similarly, I extend a welcome to the IQAC coordinator, Professor M.M. Hiramat sir, and co-coordinator Professor Mugnur Mats are helped a lot to organize this program. I heartily welcome to this program both of you, sir. Last but not the least, I am pleased to extend my genial welcome to the faculty members of our college, student friends, technical staff. So welcome to you all. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir. Now, I call Dr. M.S. Sajjana to present introductory speech on today's occasion.
morning, everybody. I am very much pleased to introduce a great personality to the participants. That great personality is nobody but Professor Basaraj Donur, today's keynote speaker and resource person. Professor Basaraj Donur presently serving as head of the Department of English and also Dean, School of Humanities and Languages, Central University of Karnataka, Kalaburgi. He is an academician, scholar, administrator, creative writer, orator, research guide, and above all, an inspiring teacher. Professor Basaraj Donur received his MA degree in English from Karnataka University, Dharwad in 1993. And he also received 2 PhD degrees, one from Kannada University, Hampi in Kannada literature in 2000 and one more PhD degree from Karnataka University, Dharwad in English literature in 2011. Professor Donur began his teaching career as a lecturer in English in Karnataka Arts College, Dharwad. Afterwards, he has taught English literature in several universities in Karnataka and outside Karnataka. Professor Donur taught English literature for some time in Karnataka State Women's University, Vijaypura, and Indira Gandhi National Tribal University, Amarakantaka, Madhya Pradesh. Presently, Sir is serving in Central University of Karnataka, Kalaburgi. Professor Donur has written countless research articles and published so many short stories, poems, and a novel. He has attended and chaired several state, national, and international level seminars and conferences. Noteworthy is an international conference held at Oxford University in August 2017, in which Professor Donur chaired a session. Under the guidance of Professor Donur, 4 students have been awarded PhD degrees and 8 students have been awarded MPhil degrees. Professor Donur has received several awards and honors for his outstanding contributions in the field of language, literature, and administration. To name a few, Book Award for Pasadari from Kannada Dalita Sahitya Parishad in 2008 and Best Inspiring Teacher Award from Central University of Karnataka, Kalaburgi in 2013 and Amma Award from Matosri Mahadevamma Ningappa Munnur Foundation, Sedam, for the book Nota Nilu, volume number 1 in 2016. Parthasarathi Manmusri National Award from Kannada Sahitya Parishad, Bengaluru, for his contribution to the development of Kannada language and literature in 2018. And Gulbarga University, Kalaburgi Rajyotsava Award for Kangalabara Poetry in 2019. With this brief introduction, I conclude my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We feel very honored and happy to have Basaraj Donur sir here today with us. He is such a noteworthy, well-read with academic potentiality. So we are happy to have you here, sir. Now, let us move to the main phase of the today's workshop. I request Professor Basaraj P. Donur sir to present his views on language learning and intercultural education, barriers and prospects. Over to you, sir.
Good morning. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Thank you. Professor V.S. Kadigihalimath, the president of this two-day state level online workshop on language learning and intercultural education, barriers and prospects. And Sri Suresh, the organizer of this program, Dr. S.V. Katti, organizing secretary, M.M. Hiremat, coordinator, IQAC, and all my very dear colleagues in the Department of English at Basaraj Arts College Public Court, dear participants, young teachers, scholars, ladies and gentlemen. I deem it my privilege to participate in this two-day online workshop on language learning and intercultural education, barriers and prospects. I'll be speaking about, I'll be speaking on and about the topic for about 45 to 50 minutes. It's already 11:10. We can speak up to 12 noon. Then I can take questions. It's a vast area. I don't know where to begin and where to end. Let us begin from the beginning. I remember T.S. Eliot's line, "In my beginning is my end, and in my end is my beginning." So let us begin from the beginning. We're all basically students of English language and literature. Your teachers are also students of literature and then language. And if you cease to be a student, then you become outdated. So to remain in fray, you need to be a student. So in this sense, I think all of us are students of English language and literature. I'm happy that over 100 participants have joined this online presentation today. It's a big number. I don't know the details of the participants. How many of you are students of literature, English literature? I don't know your background, your literary, cultural study background. I assume that all of you are, in some sense, students of English literature and language. So, with this assumption, I shall begin my lecture on this topic. To start with, let me admit that I may deviate from the topic, but I will be talking about language and literature, the importance and significance of learning English and teaching English in a cultural context, in a multicultural atmosphere. Now, so first of all, I will have to, remove certain barriers which perhaps exist in our minds, so that you understand the idea better, you understand the problem better, or you understand the complexity of problem better. Number one, see, communication here means it is largely, mainly English communication. Communication in English. Okay? And communication as a theory has nothing to do with English. Okay? And all of us have to improve our communication skills, whether we speak English or Kannada or any language for that matter. Today, I will be focusing only on English. So I'll be talking about English communication. English communication in terms of language learning. Language learning here means learning English language, learning a second language and learning the English language. Okay? And what are the problems in learning English language and also in teaching English language, or in learning and teaching English? And I also talk about the what we call the intercultural classroom. So our classrooms today are intercultural classrooms. I will be talking about it later. So now, whether you are a student, whether you are a research scholar, whether you are a faculty or a teacher, you need to pay a lot of attention to language, any language for that matter. If you are a learner of Kannada, you need to pay a lot of attention to your Kannada or to your English. You will have to learn the skills. You will have to learn the skills. You will have to master the skills, and you will have to use language very effectively in your classrooms or in whether you give a presentation. So because we don't have any alternative to language. Language is the only medium of expression that we can use. There are other means of communication, but we don't rely upon other means of communication as much as we rely upon language. Okay, you cannot use poetry to communicate, do you? And if you are hungry, how do you speak to your mother? You go to your mother, mother, can you give me some food? Do you sing a song? Do you sing a song? Do you play music? Or do you paint? You cannot paint. You cannot draw a line to tell your mother to give you food. You will have to speak language. Okay? So in this sense, 95% of our communication happens in language. Okay? So we don't have any alternative to language. What differentiates man from the rest of the animals is language. Okay? So minus language, there is no difference between man and monkey. Minus language, there is no difference between man and chimpanzee or any other animal, bird. Okay, it's language that distinguishes man from the rest of the animals and the rest of the bird. Whether language is a vein or bone, whatever, shapo, I'll not be talking about it. The limitations of language, I'll not be talking about. But I will talk about, the communicative aspects of English today. I know that a lot of people who are attending my lecture today are not teachers; they are students. That I should keep in my mind. All right. First of all, the title of your workshop has 3 components in it. Let me explain the title itself. Language learning. Number 2, intercultural education. And next is barriers, obstacles, barriers, and prospects. What are the benefits of learning language? Number 1, language learning. Let me explain this very important phenomenon for 5 to 6 minutes. So, you all know the benefits of learning English. I do not say that you should learn English because it will fetch you some job. Please try to understand. Don't ever learn English just because it will fetch some job, some appointment. It will create opportunities for you to make your career. I don't deny the importance of it. I don't deny the significance of it. But this is not all. Okay, you learn a language not only to get a job get an employment, but also to use it for various other purposes. Okay, and what are those purposes? So when I learn English, yes, because I learned English, I got a job and I am in a university and I hold this position, etc., etc. But that is not the whole purpose of teaching English to all the students. If that is the case, there would be no difference between the present government and the British Raj some 300 years ago. Okay, Mekale introduced English in India only to create clerks. And today we are using English, we have encouraging English schools, English medium schools only to produce clerks and also officers, IS officers and other officers, right? What is the difference between the two governments, pre-independence and post-independence? It's more than that, it's more than that. And we teach English and we learn English in India as a second language. As a second language. So my mother tongue in Karnataka, Kannada is first language and English is second language. And when you learn second language, you will have to be very careful and you will have to put in a lot of hard labor and hard work. Otherwise, you cannot learn English. Learning Kannada is entirely different from learning English. Because I am not born with English. Okay? So I pick up English after when I become, in my case, I started learning English after when I was 18 to 19 years. I think I learned ABCD when I was 18 years. But our children today, when you send them to pre-primary school, they speak English. At the age of 2-3, children in India start speaking English. And now I don't know what will happen to Indian languages because we don't teach our own languages to children, we teach English. That's a different story altogether. I will not talk about the politicization of English and commercialization of English and so on. I will be talking about only English as a language, as a second language. So, in India, we all know that there is a great demand for an English teacher. Go to any school, college, university, English teachers enjoy, more privileges. Or English teachers enjoy, have better status compared to other language teachers because you are teaching an alien language. Of course, English is no longer an alien language. It's a foreign language. It's an alien language. It's a strange language. It's an unusual language. And this language has a lot of, we have attributed so much to this language. So even today, somebody who speaks English is more respected than somebody who speaks Kannada. So your knowledge of Kannada is maybe extremely, is better than my knowledge of English. But English teacher is respected more than any other language teacher. Okay, so all right. So English has its own status. English has its own status. All right. So now we have accepted English as a language, as a second language. And we also think that it is. If our children don't speak English, then they will, the education that they get will be of no use to them. This is an illusion. This is only an illusion. So in India, in the Indian context, we teach and learn English as a second language. This is one of the components of the topic of today's workshop. I have already, informed you that English has its own status, not only in India, across the globe. Across the globe, people, intellectuals, academicians, and learners across the globe have given the highest status to English, and now English has become an international language. This is the language of intercultural communication and intercultural education. And second component is intercultural education. What does this mean? I'm only introducing the terms to you in my first part of my presentation. So intercultural education is the response to classroom diversity aiming to go beyond passive coexistence. I will have to draw your attention to, this is very technical and you will have to pay some lot of attention to what I'm trying to say to you. Intercultural education means it is the response to classroom diversity. Classroom diversity means in a class of 40 students, whether in India or in England or America or in any society, in any country, in a class of 40 people, 40 pupils or 40 students, you don't find all the students speaking one single language. There is diversity. This diversity is an important modern phenomenon. It's very important modern phenomenon in 21st century. No classroom in India or in any part of the globe is monolingual. Children don't speak just one language. Even in so-called the so-called for example, in a Kannada context, do you think that your class is there is no diversity in your class? Children speak various other languages. So, intercultural education is the response of to classroom diversity aiming to go beyond passive coexistence. Means we have students speaking different languages. If you go to London and in a classroom situation in London, there are Asian children, Indian children, they speak Hindi and several other languages. It also talks about the means to achieve a developing and sustainable way of living together in multicultural society. All our societies are multicultural societies now. This with the advent of globalization, classrooms across the globe have become increasingly diversified. Okay, and in such a in such a classroom or in such classrooms, how to develop and sustain sustainable way of living together. So children have to live together in a classroom. A classroom is also like a house for children. Varga kone, adu kuda ಒಂದು ಮನೆ ಇದ್ದ ಹಾಗೆ. A classroom is also in some sense is a house, and there should be coexistence, and you will have to go beyond the passive coexistence, right? Then the students have to live together in a multicultural societies through the creation of understanding of, respect for, and a productive dialogue between the different groups. Let me explain this in a minute or two. I have said that all our classrooms, in all our classrooms, we do not have a monolingual situation. We have students speaking different languages, and we have students practicing different cultures. Okay, and in such classrooms, how to make students, people live together and try to understand each other. So this intercultural education helps us create is an understanding of or respect for and a productive dialogue between the different groups. What I'm trying to say to you is that we need to create an atmosphere in our classroom, in our society, which are increasingly marked by multicultural, diversity, and we are living in a multicultural situation, and how to appreciate each other's culture, language, group, etc., etc. So, this second component, intercultural education, it speaks about the diversity of the classrooms on the one hand, and creating an atmosphere of understanding each other and appreciating each other. And the third component of your presentation, the title of the workshop is Barriers and Prospects. What are the barriers? What are the problems in learning second language? And also, what are the benefits of learning the second language or learning this intercultural education or communication? This is the first part of my presentation. My presentation, I think, will have 3 to 4 parts. So, in my second part of presentation, I'll be talking about language learning and intercultural education, and also intercultural communication. Try to understand these terms: intercultural education and intercultural communication. Intercultural communication refers to the communication between people from two different cultures. When an Indian and an Englishman come together, an Indian and an Englishman, an American and a Pakistani, or an Australian and South Africa. So the communication between two cultures, or communication between people from two different cultures, we call it intercultural communication. Inter means, it's between two different sections. Intercultural communication refers to the communication between people from two different cultures. It is a symbolic, interpretive, transactional, contextual process in which people from different cultures create shared meaning. I don't know how you understand it. I don't know whether you appreciate it or not. It's a very complex theory. Okay, when people from different cultures come together in a society or in a classroom, and they exchange ideas and thoughts, and create a shared meaning, create a common meaning, a shared meaning. You understand it better when you live in a cosmopolitan city like Mumbai or Bangalore, or Delhi or Calcutta or London or Washington. In all metropolitan cities across the globe, you have this culture and this problem. In a place like Bagalkot, you may not have it. In a place like Kalaburgi, we may not have it. But in a place like Bangalore or Mumbai or Chennai, in all cosmopolitan countries, we have this problem. And intercultural communication talks about this. So, as students of literature and as teachers of language and as students of language, we need to understand what it really means. What is meant by intercultural communication? What is meant by intercultural education? And what are the problems in learning and teaching English as a second language? Now, for the next 10 minutes, I'll be talking about interpersonal communication, intercultural communication. Intercultural communication became ever more pressing and singularly important with the advent of accelerating globalization and increasing intercultural contact. Remember, 30 years ago, there was no need for a man to go out of his city and meet people and establish the relationship. I remember, I think I should share one personal experience with you. There was a man in my village. My village comes in Basaraj Taluk of Bijapur district. 30, 40 years ago, there were thousands of people in my village who didn't even go to Devahipariki, which was 10 kilometers away. Can you believe? 30 years ago, in my village, there could be some 3,000 people in my village, and out of 3,000 people, about 1,000 people did not even go to Devahipariki, which was 10 kilometers away. And today, young students in my village go to Sindhige for haircut. They go to Devahipariki for a cup of tea. Let us go to Devahipariki and have tea and come back. And they go to Bijapur for a very small thing. Bangalore, they go for some ordinary purpose. Have any cultural relationship with people living in other certain geographical areas within Karnataka, within India, forget having any relationship with people living across the globe. But today, you need not travel, because the whole universe has become a village, global village. With one mobile in your hand, you can get connected to people across the globe. Through WhatsApp you can speak. It's not charged. You can speak to anybody across the globe. Get connected. And all the whole world. Where is the whole world? The whole world is stored in your in your mobile. This 1 feet long mobile contains the globe. But unless you know this, unless you know the importance and significance of class cultural communication, the social, the different means of communication. So, but today you have to speak. If you want to sell, if you want to teach. Today, Government of India has developed online programs, online classes. The principal of your college has to make provision for 40% of online classes. You can't be, you can't teach everything in the classroom physically. Okay, we have MOOC courses, we have online courses. So you will have to speak to people across the state, across the nation, and across the world. The world is increasingly becoming multicultural. So this multicultural is an absolute necessity. If you go to a place like Kanyakumari, you have multicultural situation there. You have people speaking several languages, not just Hindi, Kannada. They speak Kannada, they speak Hindi, they speak Tamil, Malayalam, English, French, and so on. And it became important that scholars reach outside their own disciplinary sphere to better understand the nature and impact of intercultural communication. As a teacher of English, even if you teach Kannada, you should know what people are doing in several other Indian languages. Okay, and you teach science, but you should know what what experiments the science teachers are doing in their labs in London. You need to understand. Okay, whether you are a politician or a businessman, whether you are a teacher or you have an NGO, you have to have personal communication. So you cannot avoid intercultural communication and multicultural communication. So to propel ourselves and others towards intercultural communicative competence, ICC, this is very important. We have people in India know only one ICC, but ICC here, intercultural communicative competence. If you want to survive in today's world, if you have any if you have any plan to go abroad, if you have any plan to go outside Karnataka to teach and to do some job, you need to develop this competence. This is intercultural communicative competence, ICC. And I request all my colleagues, English teachers, to teach this competence to our students. It is not enough if you teach a poem. I'm not saying you don't teach poem, but it's not enough you teach a poem. If it's not enough you teach only Ren and Martin grammar. You have to teach so many things to your children, to your students. Develop or help them develop intercultural communicative competence. If they don't have this competence, they will not survive. And global intellectual citizenship. Global intellectual citizenship. It's not enough you become a member of Kannada citizenship or Indian citizenship. You should become a member of global intellectual citizenship. For example, Mahesh Dattani, leading Indian playwright, he is part of global intellectual citizenship. Kannada writers don't become members of, you may win Jnanpith Award, I don't think Chandrasekhar Kambar is part of this global citizenship, but Karnar was, Ananthamurthy was, because Karnar and Ananthamurthy were speaking, they used to speak good English. And our historian who lives in Bangalore, what's his name? He wrote 2 books on Gandhi. I'll try to remember, they're all members of Ramchandra Guha. Otherwise, you are limited to, I am limited to Katburgi, you are limited to Bhagalkot. That's it. Okay, you should become part of the global intelligentsia. ಜಾಗತಿಕ ಮಟ್ಟದ ಬೌದ್ಧಿಕ ಪ್ರಪಂಚದ ಬೌದ್ಧಿಕತೆಯ ಭಾಗವಾಗಬೇಕು, ಬೌದ್ಧಿಕತೆಯ ಸದಸ್ಯನಾಗಬೇಕು. You will have to become member of global intellectual citizenship. For that, you need to develop this competence, intercultural, communicative competence you need to develop. So we need to develop more awareness of elements and process involved. How to develop this competence? Now then comes the question of learning English and the question of developing other necessary skills and understanding culture and the dimensions of culture and the nuances of culture and so on, because you should appreciate. I will give you an example before I forget. One of my, I told one of my students long ago to translate a Kannada story into English. She was a girl student of mine, and she was trying to translate 2 lines. I hope you all understand Kannada. There are 2 lines in Kannada. ಅದೇನಂದ್ರೆ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಮ್ಮ, ಎದ್ದು ನಿಲ್ಲಬೇಡ, ಜನರು ನಿನ್ನ ಮುಖ ನೋಡ್ತಾರೆ, ನಾಳೆ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ನಿನ್ನ ತಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಎಕ್ಕಿಕಳ ಬೀಳಲಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ಇಟ್ ಮೇಕ್ ಸಮ್ ಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ಕನ್ನಡ. ತಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಎಕ್ಕಿಕಳ ಬೀಳೋದು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯು ಆರ್ ಗೆಟಿಂಗ್ ಮ್ಯಾರಿಡ್, ರೈಟ್? ದೆನ್ how do you make an Englishman to understand it? You will have to translate this into English. So if you don't have this competence, intercultural communicative competence, you cannot effectively translate this into English. And what she did do? How did she translate these two lines. My dear daughter, sit down, please sit down. People should not see you. Tomorrow morning, people are going to put rice over your head. My God, my God. So I never forget this, and I don't accuse my student. I don't blame her. I blame the teachers who have taught her, because we have not given our student, we have not trained our students properly, and our students do not have competence, the necessary competence to translate. Translation is never an easy job. It's very, very tough. So what should we do? Then we must understand, we must teach, and we need to gain deeper insights into the cultural, social, linguistic, cognitive, psychological and communicative dimensions of intercultural communication, especially when it involves a second language. When in the context of learning a second language like English, you will have to be extremely careful and you should be extremely cautious. You have to develop insights into the language, not only into the language but also cultural, social, linguistic, and other dimensions. Then only you understand it better and express it better. To understand a certain culture, and to imbibe a certain culture, and to internalize a certain culture, and also to express it, in the way that people understand, is a very difficult and tough task. This is what I wanted to discuss in my second part of my presentation, and in my third part of presentation, for another 15 minutes, I'll be making some observations in general about learning English as a second language and our multicultural classrooms and intercultural communication, etc. So across the globe, migration, travel, business, and international education are facilitating face-to-face intercultural contact. Now, you can't avoid meeting people. You can't avoid traveling with the people who are strangers to you, because we are living in an increasingly globalized world. We are living in a global village. Okay, the globe is not very big. It is as small as village. Now I say it is as small as your mobile set. How big is the universe? ಈ ವಿಶ್ವ ಎಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡದಿದೆ? ಇದು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ನಷ್ಟೇ ದೊಡ್ಡದಿದೆ. It's as big as your mobile. It contains everything. It contains the whole universe. So you interact with each other and you talk to each other, through internet and social networking sites, etc., etc. And it also becomes very easy for the people, to link with people virtually in different parts of the world. I have already said it. And as we become increasingly interconnected, the demand for individuals who can communicate effectively and appropriately with people who have a different cultural, linguistic background becomes ever more pressing. So about barriers, there are a number of barriers. I don't have time to talk about the barriers, the obstacles. Okay, some of them are physical, and some of them are psychological, and some of them pedagogical, cognitive, etc., etc., which the teachers have to address. The teachers have to address, and the teachers have to facilitate. The teachers have to help students learn English as a second language very effectively, with an ease in the classroom, in a classroom situation. Now, about the prospects, benefits. What are the benefits of learning English as a second language? It goes without saying that learning of English will strengthen your personality, and the knowledge of English will give you a lot of strength in terms of linguistic competence, in terms of communicative skills, and so on. And it will also help you have a relationship with the people. The benefits are numerous. There are many benefits. There are many benefits of learning learning English. And see, if suppose practice lecturing, you can't become a very effective teacher in a overnight. ಹೊತ್ತು ಮುಳುಗಿ ಬೆಳಗಾಗುವುದರಲ್ಲೇ ನೀವು ಅದ್ಭುತ ಭಾಷಣಕಾರರಾಗಿ ಹೊರಹೊಮ್ಮಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇಲ್ಲ. It is impossible for anybody to become an effective teacher overnight. You will have to burn midnight oil. But there is an advantage of doing it. There are a lot of benefits if you emerge as a successful speaker. For example, if Rajendra Goa delivers one lecture in an American university or British university, he gets paid minimum 20 lakhs. Can you imagine? For one lecture, 20 lakhs. There is Congress leader, he's a politician from Kerala. He's a historian. I forgot his name as well. For one single lecture, they get paid 20 in terms of lakhs. And if you publish one good novel in English, if Europe accepts it, if the world accepts it, you will get more than crores of rupees you can get. Okay? And if you spend 10 years, you will emerge as an effective speaker, okay, or a writer. Or if you become a good teacher, an effective teacher, you will get a job, and you can go across the country. People ask you, people request you, they pay you airfare, they pay you. For one lecture, if I go to Delhi, they pay towards 20,000 rupees towards my airfare, and again a hotel, so 50,000 rupees. In India also, people spend 50,000 rupees on a single lecture. Thanks to Corona, they're not spending, and you can arrange a talk by any eminent man without spending money. This is an advantage of Corona, the benefit of Corona. All right. So, I will now talk about the importance of language and intercultural communication in today's increasingly diverse and interconnected world. Please remember that you are not living in an island today. Gone are the days when people would live in their own islands. Okay, and it doesn't mean where you are living you are connected. You are connected to the rest of the world. So our society has is increasingly becoming diverse, and we are living in an interconnected world. And in this world, the language plays a critical role. The language plays a very critical role in this very diverse and interconnected world. And it also plays an important role in what we call intercultural relations, whether in the local environment or abroad. As expressed by many of the experts, we cannot overlook the dominance of English, as it has emerged as the primary language of international and intercultural communication. I have almost come to the end of my presentation, and in the next 5 to 6 minutes, I'll be talking about the importance of English as a second language and as an international language. We cannot overlook we cannot undermine the importance and significance of English, and the English is playing a dominating role, a very dominant role it is playing, and it has emerged as the primary language of international and intercultural communication. There are people who argue that English is not a global language, but English is a global language. There are people who argue and who deny the status of an international language to English, but English is an international language. All said and done, English is a global language. English is the language of globalization. English is an international language, and English is also the primary language of international and intercultural communication. So the status is impacting on language choice, language use, intercultural relations, and intercultural interaction, education all across the globe. So with the development of multiple world Englishes, this is one I also would like to draw your attention to. Say, a century ago, there was only one English, the British English. Then came the American English. Then came the Australian English. Now, there is no one single English. There are Englishes. There are Englishes. So we speak Kannada English. There is Kannada English, Tamil English, Telugu English, and also our Indian English, Pakistani English, Afghanistani English, Asian English, African English, Australian English. There are several Englishes in the world today. Okay, but it's the English. And also, decentering of the native speaker. 100 years ago, who used to speak English? The British. The people of England used to speak English, of course, the Americans. And this is decentered. The native speaker is decentered. He is removed from the center. Now I speak English. Many Indians speak better English than the Englishmen now. You know, they find it difficult to understand Indian English now. Indians have mastered English. Okay. Of course, there are also a lot of problems about the quality of education. In the beginning, I said that the English teacher has a lot of respect, but what about the quality of his English? That will be the last observation that I'm going to make today about the quality. Quality will be the last thing to speak about today in my lecture. We all say, the English teachers say that yes, we are doing some great service to society and we are very important people, we are very great people because we are teaching a language which others don't teach. I agree with you, but what about the quality of your English? Remember, last year, on the floor of Parliament, an MP made observation. An MP, I don't remember his name, he said on the floor of the House that many teachers in English are not able to speak correct English. There was a big debate. And this is not the problem of only English teachers, it is the problem of Kannada teachers as well. There are Kannada teachers who don't speak Kannada properly and who don't write Kannada properly. Again, this is not the problem with Kannada teachers, it is the problem with Telugu teachers, Hindi teachers. You know, they teach Hindi and after retirement also they are not able to speak good English. Right? And there are professors, they teach English for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and they are not able to write even one single sentence. So we need to think about, I don't want to comment on other teachers, but I have every right to comment on English teachers. I'm also basically an English teacher. And why, this so-called English medium schools, what kind of English they speak? It's horrible. Okay, buildings are extremely beautiful, furniture is wonderful, and you have all equipments, smart classrooms, okay, you have internet connection, you have all the facilities in place, but the person who delivers has no has no idea how he should teach, or he doesn't have competence. And this is very important. This is very important. So you need to develop. A teacher has to develop his own competence, then only he will be able to develop the competence in his students. Right? So candle has to burn itself first, then light another candle. Hmm? So you don't have light in you, how can you give light to others? If you don't have competence in you, how can you give competence to others? So, my dear friends, with my experience as a teacher of English for more than 2 decades, I do not have any hesitation in saying that a lot of teachers do not have the necessary competence to teach English. And I use this platform to tell my young colleagues and teachers and business scholars to develop competence and understand things better, so that you will be able to deliver your best in your classrooms. With these observations of mine, I call today. I can take questions. Thank you very much, sir, for your invitation. I also thank my young colleague, Mr. Suresh, for giving me an opportunity to participate in this program and talk to you about English, about communication, intercultural communication and intercultural education. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. That was indeed a valuable session regarding the intercultural and multicultural and the conflict between the various dimensions of our language, especially with reference to Indian languages, as well as and complications in learning English language. Thank you so much, sir. Sir, shall we have an interaction for a few minutes?
Yeah.
Dear participants, if you have any questions, you may ask. There will be interaction session for a few minutes, next 5 minutes.
Yeah, give them time, and they can,
Yes,
if they are not comfortable with English, they can ask in third as well. Okay.
Interaction.
Yes.
So may I?
Yeah, please.
Hello, Murad.
You are not quite audible, Ganesh.
Yeah.
Ah.
Am I audible now, sir?
Yes.
Hello. Yeah.
Please speak.
This is Dr. Ganesh Kakle from Marathwada Technology. Sir, just the session was really very wonderful and very informative. I'm very happy with this experience. Just last question we have mentioned as the teachers are required to improve their competence. So I would like to know exactly what should be done to improve the competence of teaching English.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ganesh. It's a very good question. What should we do to develop our competence? I give you a classic example from P. Linkage, one of the finest modern Kannada writers who happened to be a professor of English. He used to give the example of a cricketer, P. Linkage. For example, a great cricketer like Tendulkar is not made in a day. And he will practice, although he is a great cricketer, although he has established his name and fame, but he will not straight go to stadium to play the cricket. He will practice in net. A musician does not give his musical concert all of a sudden. He will practice 3 days, then he gives his musical concert. Similarly, a teacher has to practice. A writer has to practice. And this is something which is missing. We don't spend a lot of time on our teaching. We don't develop these skills. So to develop competence, you will have to work hard, and a teacher has to work hard. He has to read a lot. He has to read theories. He has to interact with people, and more than this, he has to practice. He has to practice. There is no shortcut for hard work, and there is no replacement for commitment. A teacher who is ready to work hard and who has a lot of commitment and who has passion, that's very important. He should have passion to learn, passion to teach. And he should have some sort of living relationship with language. He should become extremely sensitive to language. And the problem with most English teachers in India is we don't have very sensitive relationship with language. For example, if I speak a bad, if I do not speak a good English, if I do not speak good English, I should feel hurt. Do you think that teachers, English teachers, feel hurt when they produce bad sentences? No, they don't, because they don't have this sensitivity. Language is missing. Is missing. So, and also, competence, developing competence depends on several factors, right? And language, when you try to develop competence in language, you will have to understand the other dimensions of language. So, it's a long process. It's a long process. Yeah.
Actually, I am not happy with the answer of you, because as you said that we are required to be competent, okay, to develop our competence in English language. So as you said earlier in the session that 100 years ago, there were the people who, Britishers were there, they were able to speak in English. They had the language competence. But after 100 years, means nowadays, we are observing that the people are everywhere able to speak in English. But as you said that there is required to develop language competence, but I think it is not required to develop language competence, because one-third part of the world is speaking English nowadays. But there is the differences. But instead of that, I think there is required to develop communicative competence. As you are speaking, that sometimes you are using that he want to do this, he want to do that. It means you are avoiding to speak about female. You are capturing only a particular male community. So, communicative competence is required to understand, to develop. I think even as you are saying that very, so this repetitive word, why it is necessary? Is it language competence? Already you have lot of knowledge with language and literature. But what about communicative competence? I think it is needed to develop. What do you think, sir?
Dr. Ganesh, I fully agree with you. Let me make my stand very clear to you and also to other viewers of this program. When I said competence in language, I do mean competence in terms of communication. And you can't, separate communicative competence from language competence. It is inbuilt in it. But I agree with you that we need to develop communicative competence. And number two, See,
No, actually,
unless,
sir, I'm extremely sorry. I'm not taking it from language.
hmm?
It is part of language. But as was saying that language competence is required. But I think most of the people in the world are speaking English. But they are needing to develop their communicative competence so that there will be development in reality.
See, Ganesh, communicative competence, unless you know language, unless you know language, unless you have acquired proficiency in a language, whether English or French or Kannada, you cannot develop communicative competence. Communicative competence means what? Not just as a theory. Communicative competence in relation to a language. In relation to a language. Okay. So you have sound knowledge of English, and you also know, you also have mastered other communication skills. Then you have more you are in a more advantageous position. You can be very effective in your communication. Okay, they go hand in hand. And I said to you in the beginning that I agree with you that we need to develop, communicative competence, and developing communicative competence becomes relevant, possible only when you have language competence. You think about it, and we can, you take my number and we will interact. But I don't have any problem in any hesitation in saying that yes, they are complementary to each other and they depend upon each other. Otherwise, communicative competence, it remains as a theory. It remains as a theory. Communicative competence in English, communicative competence in Kannada or in any other language.
Yes. Thank you.
If you would like to respond to it, you can do it, Ganesh, no problem. I enjoy talking to you.
Okay, sir. No. Actually, I'm really very happy with this experience, sir. You have given a lot of information to us regarding language and language competence. But just I wanted to highlight that, sir, as I have been observing nowadays, so many people are there, they are speaking, but they are not having the proper accent and a lot of things. Even as we find that some hazards as while speaking, so how to avoid these things, how to maintain the tempo of speaking. So all these things are necessary so that we will be able to develop the language competence. That's why I should share with you.
I agree with you. I agree with you because you have to deliver. At the end of the day, we have to deliver, and we need to deliver. And for better deliverance, we need to develop this competence. Competence in communication. It's like driving a vehicle. And if you know how to drive a vehicle, it's better. And if you also know how to repair vehicle, it's better.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Good.
That is a
Sir, hello, sir. Sir, this is Vijayalakshmi Dantreddy. Actually, I wanted to not going to ask any question. Just I wanted to react to Ganesh sir's, the doubts regarding what he just spoke. That is, while speaking, we have some problem. Like, as he said, like what we do. And to avoid all such things, as my teacher, you used to say to all of us that to avoid such things, we have to develop our vocabulary. That's the only thing. And we need to do a lot of practice. This is my reaction to this. Thank you, sir.
Good. Practice make it a full man.
Yes. Any other questions? Thanks to hear from Ganesh sir. Yes, any questions, dear participants? If you have any, just drop a message in the chat box. We will take it to the resource person. They will address you. Yes.
Hello. Sir, if you don't mind, may I add one more thing?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Go on, sir.
Yeah. Actually, just someone, ma'am, spoke about that how to avoid these, what we call it, slang. These words. So for that, I think, if you think that while taking something, if you do not have sufficient particular word for that, and if it is taking time, so it means what is happening, thinking process is very low, very slow, because of what it is taking time. And if our speaking speed is too much high, so this is that's the difference between speaking and thinking speed. If we will be able to maintain speaking speed as well as speaking speed, so it is possible, I think.
Yes, Ganesh sir, I think you are not clear. Thank you for that. Could you please drop a message? You are not clear enough.
Okay. Hello. Am I audible now, sir?
Yeah, sir.
Actually, some network issue is there because of what I'm on.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir. Go on.
Sir, just I was trying to add one point, ma'am's discussion, as when we think something, so if the speed of thinking is very low and if speaking speed is very high, so definitely there comes breakages. So to maintain our thinking speed according to the thinking, so we will be able to avoid and Dear Ganesh sir, either correct your network issue or you can drop it in chat box. Because see, whatever you are doing is not audible for us. Please take some measures regarding this.
Yes, sir. Please, Ganesh sir, you just drop a message. We will take to the resource person. Yes, thank you. Anyone else? Yes. Let us.